The Freedom Convoy traces its roots through early COVID protests, and many of the related groups date back even earlier to anti-government sentiments, particularly out of Alberta. These protest groups rallied against COVID measures, and 2 years before the trucks rolled into Ottawa, Ontario's provincial police had already created a standing intelligence project to track protest movements across the country. This secret intelligence operation was called Project Hendon. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video, please. The Hendon Files are not conspiracy, they're not speculation, they are the internal reports of the OPP's Intelligence Bureau, written, shared, and circulated to police chiefs, federal security agencies, and even critical infrastructure partners. They show in real time how police were surveilling Canada's protest landscape from 2020 onward. And here's what they tell us. Hendon wasn't created for the convoy. It was born in February 2020 in the middle of the Wet'suwet'en blockades. CN shut down 400 trains, Via Rail cancelled its eastern network, supply chains stalled. The RCMP's enforcement on Wet'suwet'en territory dominated the headlines. The OPP realized these weren't one-off protests anymore. They were systemic disruptions, and they needed a permanent intelligence framework to track them. So Hendon was stood up. Its mandate was clear: collect, analyze, and share intelligence about protests that could impact public safety, critical infrastructure, or the economy. An increase in hate-motivated crimes is cited as the reason for such a bold intelligence operation. From the beginning, Hendon wasn't just provincial. Reports were distributed to the RCMP, CSIS, the CBSA, CN and CP Police, and municipal services from Vancouver to Montreal. By January 2021, a full year before the convoy, Hendon reports were landing directly on the desks of chiefs of police in Toronto, Ottawa, and Windsor. Hendon was, in effect, a provincial project, feeding a national network. Then came the pandemic. The solidarity blockades faded, but dissent didn't disappear. It moved into the empty streets. Anti-lockdown marches, anti-mask protests, small-town rallies. Hendon pivoted to track them all. By the spring of 2021, Hendon had started naming the trend: the rise of the Patriot movement. A diffuse anti-government current shaped by lockdown frustrations, general dissent, and sovereignist rhetoric. Hendon's language was cautious. The rhetoric was escalating online. Extremist elements may be present, but actual criminal activity remained minimal or non-existent. Reports noted persistent dissent, sharper tone, and the possibility of disruption, but consistently concluded there was no specific threats to public safety. That is the power of the Hendon Files. They show the continuity from Wet'suwet'en solidarity protests to anti-mask marches, from rail blockades to election season rallies, the same increase in volatility of dissent, spreading from one cause to another, and by late 2021, all of it was converging on a single target: Ottawa. By the time the 2021 federal election arrived, Hendon's reporting showed the Patriot movement had settled into a rhythm. Week after week, rallies and marches popped up in towns across Ontario. Some protesters targeted the homes of politicians and public health officials. Rhetoric continued to escalate online, sometimes openly calling for intimidation under the banner of freedom and resistance. But Hendon's analysis remained careful. The reports acknowledged these extremist elements. They claimed that conspiracy and sovereigntist language was sweeping into the mainstream, yet the assessment consistently said the same thing: criminal activity remained minimal. There was sharp dissent, yes, there was angry movement growing louder, but there was no clear intelligence of organized violence. In August of that year, Hendon expanded its collection plan. It recognized that the Patriot movement wasn't just protest current anymore. It was a broad-based anti-government sentiment, mixing anger over mandates with deeper grievances about institutions. The OPP noted that the dissent was persisting, rhetoric intensifying, and still no specific threats had been identified. By the fall, Hendon was pointing to something bigger: closed communication channels, in-person networking, talk of a national protest that could pull people from across Canada. Ottawa was starting to appear in the chatter, and while the reports were still cautious, warning of rhetoric, Intelligence Files make clear the pieces were falling into place for something big. That's what Hendon Files show us. They're not dramatic, they're not sensational, they are measured, clinical, and steady. Apolitical. They reveal a continuity: how Canada went from the blockades of 2020 to the protests of 2021, to the edge of national convoy movement. In examining the Hendon Files, we will see the formation of this national intelligence apparatus, monitoring protest groups. We get an inside look at the protests leading up and including the convoy. Murmurs of another secret intelligence project started early in 2020, and shocking revelations about the depth of politicization in Canada. The Hendon Files are dozens of documents out of 7,000 that we have as sources in a comprehensive book on this protest movement, Shadow over Canada, Canadian COVID protests. Tune in for the next episode.